The biggest mistake young people make. The top 3 biggest mistakes. 1. Thinking they have unlimited time, the procrastination trap. The mistake. Assuming they can start saving money, building a career, finding a partner, or getting fit later, next year, after graduation, when they have more money. Why it's the biggest. Time is your only non-renewable resource. Wasting your 20s waiting for real life to start means you lose the decade of greatest energy, fewest responsibilities, and highest neuroplasticity, ability to learn quickly. The consequence: at 35, they realize their high-risk, high-reward dreams, start a company, move to a new city, learn an instrument, are now much harder because of mortgages, kids, or health issues. 2. Prioritizing short-term pleasure over long-term discipline. The mistake. Choosing the fun Friday night over the internship application. Buying the new phone instead of investing. Staying in a comfortable dead-end job because it's easy. Why it's the biggest. The compound effect is invisible. A small bad choice each day feels harmless, but over 5 to 10 years it creates a massive gap between those who made small sacrifices and those who didn't. The consequence: by 30, their peers have skills, savings, and networks, while they have memories of parties, a used car, and no clear career path. 3. Caring too much about what others think, social conformity. The mistake. Choosing a major, job, or lifestyle to please parents, impress peers on social media, or fit in with a group, instead of following their own curiosity and values. Why it's the biggest. It leads to a life of quiet desperation. You can wake up at 40 in a career you hate, married to the wrong person, living in the wrong city, all because you were afraid to be judged. The consequence: you never build authentic self-esteem, because your worth is tied to external validation. You become resentful and anxious. The most unique and powerful angle. The meta mistake. Confusing activity with progress. This is the mistake that eats all the others. Young people are often very busy, scrolling, studying, working odd jobs, socializing, but they mistake being busy for moving toward a goal. The mistake. Doing 100 small, easy things, watching tutorials, organizing your desk, planning a perfect routine, instead of one hard, scary thing: writing the first bad chapter, making the sales call, having the difficult conversation. Why it's subtle. It feels like you're working. You get a dopamine hit from checking small boxes. But years pass and you've built nothing substantial. The fix. Teach young people to ask daily: is this action moving me toward a specific, meaningful goal, or is it just keeping me comfortably busy? Hook. The biggest mistake young people make isn't drugs, debt, or dropping out. It's much quieter and more dangerous. It's something you're probably doing right now. The body. Choose one of the 3 mistakes above and tell a short, relatable story, e.g., a student who partied instead of building a portfolio, now competing with younger grads. The twist. Reveal the meta mistake, confusing activity with progress. Give a concrete example. Spending 3 hours making a study schedule versus spending 3 hours actually studying the hardest chapter. The call to action. Before you turn 25, learn to tell the difference between feeling busy and being effective. Delete one distraction today. Do one thing that scares you this week. Your future self will thank you. 4 more core mistakes, with nuance. Chasing passion before competence. The mistake. Young people hear, follow your passion, and think they should only do work that feels exciting from day one. They quit jobs, majors, or hobbies the moment it gets boring or hard. Why it's a mistake. Passion usually follows mastery, not the other way around. You fall in love with what you're good at. By quitting too early, you never get good enough at anything to experience the deep satisfaction of skill. The consequence. A serial sampler who has dabbled in 10 things but mastered none. At 30, they have no competitive advantage in any field. The fix. Commit to something, anything respectable, for 2 to 3 years before deciding if you hate it. Get past the awkward beginner phase. 5. Over-identifying with their emotions. The mistake. Believing every feeling is a truth that demands action. I feel anxious, so something must be wrong. I feel unmotivated, so this isn't for me. I feel angry, so I should post about it. Why it's a mistake. Emotions are weather, not climate. Young brains, until approximately 25, have an overactive amygdala and underactive prefrontal cortex, meaning feelings are intense but perspective is low. Acting on every emotion builds a chaotic life. The consequence. Burned bridges, abandoned projects, regrettable texts, and a reputation for being dramatic or unreliable. The fix. Learn the 10-minute rule. Feel the emotion fully, but wait 10 minutes before any decision or message. Most urges pass. 6. Avoiding failure at all costs, the perfectionism trap. The mistake. Only applying to safe schools, only speaking when 100% sure, never trying out for the team, never asking someone out, never sharing creative work until it's perfect. Why it's a mistake. Failure is the fastest learning mechanism humans have. By avoiding failure, young people avoid growth. They stay in a tiny, comfortable cage of what they already know. The consequence. High school valedictorians who crumble at first criticism. Talented artists who never release anything. Smart people with zero resilience. The fix. Deliberately seek small, safe failures each week. Ask a dumb question in class. Submit something imperfect. Try a hobby you'll suck at. Rewire your brain to see failure as data, not identity. 7. Building a network of fun friends instead of rising friends. The mistake. Spending 90% of social energy on people who are fun to drink, talk, scroll with, but who have no ambition, curiosity, or discipline. Avoiding people who are smarter, more driven, or further ahead because they feel intimidating. Why it's a mistake. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Fun friends keep you comfortable. Rising friends pull you upward. In your 20s, your network determines your trajectory more than your talent does. The consequence. By 30, you've plateaued while acquaintances who surrounded themselves with excellence have launched careers, startups, or creative projects. The fix. Join one group or community where you're the dumbest person in the room. Seek mentors. Be willing to feel small. A fresh metaphor to tie it all together. The bank account of effort. Imagine you wake up at 20 years old with a special bank account. It doesn't hold money, it holds compoundable effort. Every hour you spend learning a skill, building a relationship, improving your health, or creating something gets deposited. And here's the magic. Deposits made at 20 are worth 10x more than deposits made at 40, because they have decades to compound. The biggest mistake young people make is withdrawing from this account constantly, spending hours on distraction, entertainment, drama, and comfort, while making tiny, pathetic deposits. Then at 35, they check their balance and it's empty. And they have no idea why. 7 deeper, less obvious mistakes. 8. Mistaking information for knowledge. The mistake. Consuming endlessly, podcasts, Twitter threads, YouTube essays, newsletters, while producing almost nothing. Feeling smart because you know things without ever applying them. Why it's a mistake. Information without action is entertainment. Your brain doesn't learn by input, it learns by output. Reading about running doesn't build a single muscle fiber. The consequence. By 30, you can talk a brilliant game but have no portfolio, no completed projects, no real-world results. You're a walking Wikipedia page with nothing built. The fix. Adopt a 1 to 3 rule. For every 1 hour of consumption, spend 3 hours creating, applying, or teaching. 9. Treating their body like a rental car. The mistake. Assuming youth is a biological immunity shield. Poor sleep, processed food, chronic sitting, phone addiction, skipping water, ignoring posture. The mindset of, I'll fix it later. Why it's a mistake. The body keeps score. Damage done at 22 doesn't show up at 23. It shows up at 33 as chronic back pain, hormonal issues, anxiety, brain fog, or metabolic disease. And reversing it then takes 10x the effort. The consequence. Hitting your prime career years with the energy of a 60-year-old. Being too tired to enjoy the money you earned. The fix. Treat sleep as performance enhancing. Move your body daily like a pro athlete in off-season. Your 35-year-old knees will weep with gratitude. 10. Confusing having an opinion with having expertise. The mistake. Believing that because you have internet access and strong feelings, your take on politics, medicine, economics, or psychology is equally valid as someone who studied it for a decade. Why it's a mistake. This traps young people in a permanent beginner's arrogance. They never develop intellectual humility, so they never actually learn deeply. They just find content that confirms their existing vibe. The consequence. Becoming insufferable at dinner parties and unemployable in serious roles. Being wrong loudly while the humble quietly advance. The fix. Actively seek to be proven wrong. Before forming an opinion, ask, what would someone smarter than me say against this? 11. Avoiding boredom like the plague. The mistake. Reaching for a phone every time there's a pause. Waiting in line, riding the bus, sitting on the toilet, even walking between rooms. Zero tolerance for silence or unstructured thought. Why it's a mistake. Boredom is where creativity lives. When your brain has no input, it starts making connections, generating ideas, solving problems, processing emotions. By killing boredom, you kill original thought. The consequence: a generation that can regurgitate trends but can't generate original ideas. Great at reacting, terrible at initiating. The fix: schedule 20 minutes of nothing daily. No phone, no book, no music. Just sit, let your brain complain, then eventually create. 12. Over-investing in romantic partners too early. The mistake: at 19 to 24, making the relationship the absolute center of life. Changing career plans, ditching friends, abandoning hobbies, moving cities, all for someone you've known 18 months. Why it's a mistake: your brain isn't finished developing until approximately 25. Who you are at 20 and who you are at 28 are almost different people. Building your entire life around a prefrontal cortex relationship is architectural insanity. The consequence: either a painful breakup that leaves you with no identity, or staying together out of sunk cost, waking up at 35 next to a stranger you committed to as a teenager. The fix: before 25, your primary relationship should be with your own growth. Date, but don't merge lives completely. Keep your career, your friends, your geography. 13. Believing, saving, and investing are the same thing. The mistake: putting money in a savings account, earning 0.5% interest, and calling it good. Or worse, not saving at all because I don't make enough. Why it's a mistake: inflation quietly steals 2 to 3% of your purchasing power every year. A dollar at 20, if invested in the S&P 500, becomes tilde. 14. Treating every disagreement as a battle. The mistake: approaching conversations with the goal of winning, not understanding. Responding to contrary views with heat, sarcasm, or moral outrage instead of curiosity. Why it's a mistake: young brains are high in emotional reactivity and low in cognitive flexibility. They mistake "someone disagrees with me" for "someone is attacking me." This burns bridges, closes doors, and chases away wiser people who might have mentored them. The consequence: a reputation as someone who is exhausting to talk to. Fewer invitations to important rooms. Being right alone instead of wrong together. The fix: learn the phrase, "Tell me more about why you see it that way." Use it even when it hurts. A provocative framework: the "to die young" problem. Here's a reframe that hits harder than biggest mistake lists. Most young people don't make one big mistake. They make one big assumption: that they will recognize their youth while they are still in it. This leads to two ways of dying young. Death number 1. The hedonist dies at 25, buried at 85. This person burns their 20s on pleasure, validation, and comfort. By 30, they're still the same person they were at 22, no new skills, no growth, no assets. They spent their youth, they didn't invest it, the person they could have become is dead. Death number 2. The workaholic dies at 85, buried at 25. This person grinds so hard in their 20s, chasing grades, money, resume lines, external achievement, that they forget to live. They never take the road trip, never fall in love badly, never make art for fun, never stay up late laughing. They arrive at 30 successful and hollow. Their joy died young. The actual biggest mistake? Believing you must choose between these two deaths. The rare young person who avoids both realizes, discipline without joy becomes burnout. Joy without discipline becomes regret. You need both, in alternation. The uncomfortable truth: for a conclusion, the biggest mistake young people make isn't any single action. It's a shared delusion that the rules don't apply to them yet. That they can live like there's no tomorrow and tomorrow will still be generous. That health, time, relationships, and money are infinite and forgiving. They're not. The only difference between a young person who wins and one who loses is that the winner realized they were running out of time before it was too late. Not at 30, not at 40, at 19, on a random Tuesday, in an average moment. That moment is available to you right now. What are you going to do with it? 7 more uncomfortable truths. 15. Mistaking busy for productive. The mistake: filling every hour with activity, classes, side hustles, gym, social plans, volunteering, then wondering why they feel exhausted but haven't moved forward. Using busyness to avoid asking, is any of this actually working? Why it's a mistake: busy is a drug. It numbs the anxiety of not knowing what matters. But activity without strategy is just motion sickness. You can run on a treadmill for years and go nowhere. The consequence: burnout without payoff. At 30, you're tired, not accomplished. You have lines on your resume but no leverage in your life. The fix: every Sunday, ask, if I could only do 3 things next week, which 3 would create 80% of my progress? Do those first. Let the rest burn. 16. Believing more options is always better. The mistake: keeping every door open. Dating 5 people casually. Applying to every job. Starting 3 projects at once. Refusing to commit because, what if something better comes along? Why it's a mistake: options don't create freedom, they create paralysis. Every open door splits your attention, dilutes your effort, and delays your mastery. Commitment is not the enemy of freedom, it's the engine of depth. The consequence: at 30, you're okay at 10 things and great at nothing. Meanwhile, the boring friend who picked one path and stuck is now an expert earning expert money. The fix: deliberately close doors. Say no to good things so you can say yes to great ones. Kill your darlings. Burn the boats. 17. Outsourcing their self-worth to social metrics. The mistake: checking likes, views, followers, and comments before checking in with themselves. Feeling good when numbers go up. Feeling worthless when they plateau or drop. Treating engagement as validation. Why it's a mistake: you are handing the keys to your happiness to an algorithm designed by a stranger in Silicon Valley. That algorithm wants to keep you scrolling, not thriving. It will happily trade your mental health for 12 more minutes of screen time. The consequence: an identity made of glass. One bad post, one shadow ban, one trend shift, and your self-esteem shatters. You don't know who you are without the little red notification bubble. The fix: delete the apps from your phone for 30 days. Use the browser version if you must. Watch what happens to your anxiety. Then decide what's actually yours versus what the algorithm built. 18. Waiting for motivation before they act. The mistake: lying in bed thinking, I just don't feel motivated today. Believing that motivation is a prerequisite for action, rather than a byproduct of it. Why it's a mistake: motivation is a flickering candle, not a furnace. It shows up unpredictably and leaves quickly. Disciplined people don't wait for motivation, they act, and motivation follows like a shy dog. The consequence: a life entirely at the mercy of mood. Productive on good days, worthless on bad ones. No consistency, no compounding, no results. The fix: learn the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you'll do the thing for 5 minutes. That's it. After 5 minutes, you can quit. What happens 90% of the time? You keep going. Starting is the magic. 19. Believing I'll fix it when it's a crisis. The mistake: ignoring the small crack in the friendship, the subtle weight gain, the tiny credit card balance, the quiet resentment at work. Telling yourself, it's not that bad yet. I'll deal with it when it's an emergency. Why it's a mistake: problems are easier to solve at 10% than at 90%. A small conversation prevents a breakup. A daily walk prevents obesity. A budget prevents bankruptcy. But young people wait until the fire is blazing, then wonder why the hose doesn't work. The consequence: a life of constant firefighting. Never ahead, always catching up. Chronic stress because you're always fixing what you should have prevented. The fix: weekly maintenance check-ins. One relationship, one health metric, one financial number, one career task. Spend 10 minutes on each. Future you will weep with gratitude. 20. Copying the habits of successful people without their constraints. The mistake: waking up at 4 a.m. like Tim Cook. Cold plunges like Wim Hof. 10-hour workdays like Elon. Fasting, journaling, meditating, nootropics, the whole aesthetic. Doing the visible things without understanding the structural things. Why it's a mistake: rich, successful people have private chefs, cleaners, assistants, and no financial stress. Their 4 a.m. is not your 4 a.m. You're copying the output without the input. You're wearing the costume without the infrastructure. The consequence: burnout, self-hatred, and the belief that discipline doesn't work for me, when really you were just playing a rigged game. The fix: instead of copying rituals, copy principles. Instead of wake up at 4 a.m., ask, how can I protect my most creative hours? Instead of cold plunge, ask, how can I introduce productive discomfort? Adapt, don't adopt. 21. Forgetting that their parents were also once young. The mistake: viewing parents as out-of-touch relics, not as humans who made their own mistakes, compromises, and sacrifices. Dismissing their advice without examination because they don't understand. Why it's a mistake. Parents have seen the movie you're currently in the middle of. They know the twist. They know which characters are trustworthy. They know where your current path leads because they walked it, or watched a friend walk it. The consequence? Making the same expensive mistakes your parents warned you about, then realizing at 35 that they were right, but now it costs you a divorce, a bankruptcy, or a decade of therapy. The fix? Ask your parents one real question this week. Not about their rules, about their regrets. What do you wish someone had told you at my age? Listen without arguing. You don't have to obey. But you should at least hear. Quick reference. All 21 mistakes. Unlimited time. Assuming later always comes. Short-term pleasure. Choosing comfort now over compound later. Social conformity. Living for applause instead of authenticity. Passion before competence. Quitting before you get good. Emotion as truth. Believing every feeling demands action. Avoiding failure. Staying small to stay safe. Fun friends only. Surrounding yourself with comfort, not growth. Information for knowledge. Consuming without creating. Rental car body. Abusing youth like it's insured. Opinion as expertise. Mistaking feelings for facts. Avoiding boredom. Killing creativity with constant input. Early romance over investment. Merging lives before identity is formed. Saving without investing. Letting inflation steal your future. Disagreement as battle. Winning conversations, losing relationships. Busy instead of productive. Motion without progress. More options. Keeping doors open, never walking through. Social metrics as worth. Letting algorithms define your value. Waiting for motivation. Acting only when the feeling strikes. Fix it at crisis. Ignoring small problems until they're huge. Copying without constraints. Wearing the costume, missing the infrastructure. Forgetting parents were young. Dismissing the only people who've seen your future. 7 even more specific and painful mistakes. 22. Measuring their life against someone else's highlight reel. The mistake. Scrolling Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok and thinking, everyone is further ahead than me. Comparing your behind-the-scenes, struggles, debt, confusion, bad days, to everyone else's carefully curated best moments. Why it's a mistake. Comparison is not just a thief of joy, it's a liar. You are comparing your real, messy, unfinished life to fiction. The girl with the perfect travel photos has maxed out credit cards. The guy with the promotion post cried in his car last week. You don't see the cost. The consequence. Chronic inadequacy without accurate data. Feeling like a failure while being completely normal. Making desperate decisions, bad jobs, bad relationships, bad debt, to catch up to a ghost. The fix. Unfollow anyone who makes you feel small. Curate your feed like your mental health depends on it, because it does. And start tracking your progress against your past self only. 23. Thinking, someday, is a date on the calendar. The mistake. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll learn guitar. Someday I'll tell her how I feel. Using someday as a comfortable way to never do the hard thing. Why it's a mistake. Someday is not a day of the week. It's a procrastination device your brain uses to protect you from the fear of trying and failing. The problem is, someday never comes. It's always tomorrow, then next week, then next year, then never. The consequence? A graveyard of unwritten books, unstarted companies, unsent letters, and unlived lives. Dying with the music still inside you. The fix? Replace someday with a specific date. I will write page 1 on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Put it on the calendar. Treat it like a flight you can't miss. 25. Treating their 20s like a dress rehearsal. The mistake. Living as if your 20s are a practice round before real life starts at 30. Not taking decisions seriously. Assuming you can always redo, restart, or recover later. Why it's a mistake. Your 20s are not a dress rehearsal. They are the main stage. The habits you build, the relationships you form, the skills you learn, the money you save, this stuff sticks. You are not auditioning for your life. You are living it. The consequence? Waking up at 30 with no savings, no skills, no network, and no idea how you got there. Realizing you can't rewind, mourning a decade you treated as disposable. The fix? Act as if your life starts today. Not tomorrow, not at graduation, not at the next milestone. Today, what would you do differently? 26. Confusing self-care with self-indulgence. The mistake. Calling binge-watching, overeating, oversleeping, overspending, and avoiding responsibility self-care. Using mental health language to justify escape. Why it's a mistake. Real self-care is doing the thing future you will thank you for. Brushing your teeth, paying the bill, having the hard conversation, going for a walk. Real self-care is often uncomfortable. Fake self-care is comfortable now, punishing later. The consequence: a life of soft addiction to ease. Weaker willpower. Growing anxiety because the things you're avoiding are piling up behind the door you refuse to open. The fix: ask, is this helping me grow, or helping me hide? If it's hiding, it's not care. It's avoidance dressed up in nice language. 27. Staying in the wrong city, job, or relationship because of sunk cost. The mistake: I've already been here 3 years. I've already put so much into this degree. We've been together for 2 years. Staying because of time already spent, even though you know it's wrong. Why it's a mistake. The past is gone. The only question is staying the best use of my future? Sunk cost is a logical fallacy. Throwing good time after bad time doesn't get the bad time back, it just gives you more bad time. The consequence: wasting your 20s in a dead-end situation because you were too proud or too scared to cut the rope. Arriving at 30 with nothing but regret and a longer wrong path behind you. The fix: ask, if I met someone in this situation today, would I choose to start it? If the answer is no, leave. The time is gone. Don't give it company. 28. Thinking, I'm the exception. The mistake: knowing that smoking causes cancer, but believing it won't happen to you. Knowing that dropping out usually fails, but you're different. Knowing that debt is dangerous, but you'll figure it out. The quiet, arrogant assumption that statistics apply to other people. Why it's a mistake. You are not the exception. The exception exists, but you are almost certainly not it. Every person who failed also thought they were the exception. That's why they failed. The consequence: playing Russian roulette with your future and acting surprised when the gun fires. The fix: act as if you are statistically average. Because you are, plan for the probable, not the miraculous. If the miracle happens, great. If not, you're still safe. The meta-revelation: the one mistake that eats all others. The biggest mistake young people make is treating adulthood like a theory instead of a practice.
Let me explain.
Young people know the right answers. Ask them, should you save money? Yes. Should you exercise? Yes. Should you avoid toxic relationships? Yes. Should you work hard at something meaningful? Yes. They know. They're not stupid. The gap is not knowledge. The gap is application. They treat wisdom as something you have, in your head, instead of something you do, with your body, every day. Here's the brutal truth: knowing without doing is not knowing. It's just entertainment. If you know you should save but you don't save, you don't actually know saving is important. You've just heard the sentence. Real knowing changes behavior. Anything else is just memorization. So the biggest mistake? Turning wisdom into wallpaper. Letting good advice become background noise instead of operating instructions. Subscribe before you stay stuck another year.